but I also don't like to say what it is. I'll keep that to myself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Miriam Spritzer.
How are you?
Good, good. So I'm actually on a family trip, and I've been thinking a lot about the real pain. I'm right now in Marrakesh on the
Oh,
last
wow.
day with, yeah. So I was thinking also like a little bit, what is your travel style when you travel with your family? Are you more of a Benji style or more of a David type of traveler?
Neither, hopefully. A little more Benji in that I don't do itineraries and I don't do planning things, which is why Jesse on the day when we were at the airport and he says, "Do you want to see the trip?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." And we're supposed to have a conversation. And at one point I just went, and it's in the movie too. I was like, I don't understand what this is. You just, And he was like, "How did you understand the guy so much? Like you knew that was the subtext when I wrote it there." And I said, "Oh, I think that's just how I would." Somebody hands me an itinerary of a tour, I don't need to see it. You just tell me what time to go in the lobby. Like I'll be in the lobby. I'm that way now. Like I'm doing this like press tour thing, and you know, I literally got in the back of a car. This happened a few weeks ago. I got in the back of a car, and the driver said Delta Airlines, and I don't know. And he goes, "But you're going to JFK, right?" I said, I have no idea. They told you. I wasn't even sure. I packed a bag because I was assuming I was going to the airport. I got to the airport. I put my passport in the little thing, and I realized I had no idea where I was flying that day.
I believe that.
It's true. All I know is I get a text saying, "Get in the car at 11:30," and I get in the car at like 12:15. Like
That's perfect. As long as you're on time, that's what matters.
I'm
Now,
not. I'm late, but it always works out. I show up to the airport way too late, but I end up getting on the plane. It's fine. Everything works out, and that's how
it
I like
works.
to plan the fun. I like to show up and just like do it.
Wonderful. Now, one of the things that I found so interesting, especially with the ending of the film of your character, is that we don't quite really know what happens with Benji afterwards. But say, and kind of similar to Succession, like we don't really know what happens to Roman. So I was wondering if you create theories for yourself of what happened with the characters once the story is over, because the audience does, and they
Yeah,
comment on it. So
yeah.
how do you deal with that?
Well, like here, I'll quickly say the Roman one because in that moment I sort of had my own idea of what I still haven't seen the last episode, but I think the scene is in Roman's last scene is ordering a martini at the
Yeah.
bar. And I remember what that moment was to me and what I think it is. And I've heard people give some comments and some seem to line up with mine. I heard Jesse Armstrong in an interview give his idea and it was actually different than mine, quite different. And I've heard other people give ones. There seems to be a general consensus of what that moment was for him that I fully disagree with, but I also don't like to say what it is. I'll keep that to myself. Thank you. I
Mhm.
have the same thing with the end of the movie. I sort of have, it's not as nuances for me with what happened with Roman because I think there's a lot of things happening at once and there's a lot of realization in that moment. I think with Benji, there's not a lot of realization, but I have my idea on what's going on for him in that moment, and I sort of have an idea of where his future is going. But that seems to line up with, I think, how most people think and how Jesse thinks. Jesse had a really cool idea about that last shot that he told me. It came up in the Q&A, and I said, "I never heard you say that before." And he goes, "Well, I don't know if it's right." He goes, "I just thought it sometimes." He goes, the last shot of Benji at the airport says a real
Mhm.
pain. That's it. He goes, "I wonder if there's a reality where the movie starts where he met him at the airport. The movie ends there because they left." He goes, "You see David go home." He goes, "I always wondered if that last shot is in David's head. Like it's not really
Yeah.
happening. It's just that David needs to keep Benji at the airport because if he stays at the airport, then he's safe. He's in this transient sort of place where he can have these relationships that are not meaningful, but that he likes. And that if he goes, and the idea is that if he goes home, he might not be okay. Uh,
Yeah.
but if he stays there, so I thought that was interesting that there's a chance that that's all in David's head just to keep Benji safe. I don't know if it's right, but it was interesting.
Well, if the director came up with it, it must be
It's
must be a good way to go, right?
maybe.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on the amazing work and
Thank you.
congrats on the film. Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of your trip with your family.